Now that you know quite a bit about Reaper, let's look at the routing matrix and how this can help route your audio. Go to the View menu and Routing Matrix. This window shows you all your routing of audio within Reaper. It shows you the sources and it shows you the destinations. If you right-click here, you can choose to show less items. Or let's say you don't want to show that. So here's your inputs and outputs. But it's not really what I want, so I'm just going to tick those again to show everything. These X's show that you can't route elements back into themselves. So you can't have the beats go back into the beats. This will cause a feedback loop. Here are the inputs of my audio interface, and here are the outputs of my audio interface. You can change the names of these if you go to Reaper, Preferences, and just make sure these are unticked, and then tick them again. I want to change the channel names, so go to Edit Names and Maps, double-click that, and let's call it Input 1. Click OK, OK again, click Apply, and OK. Now you can see the new name change in the routing matrix. Let's change that back quickly again. Reaper, Preferences, just untick it, then tick it again. Then click Edit Names and Maps, double-click there, and let's change that back to Input Analog 1. Click OK, OK again, Apply, OK. So back to where we started. The tracks are going to the master output, also known as the master parent. So if you play your track here, you'll hear that it's coming out the output. If you turn it off, there's no output. When you turn it back on again, there's audio. Your track continues playing. But you could set up a headphone output and send tracks there as well. So let's say the musicians in your studio only want to hear the drums in their headphone mix, but you want to hear all the other elements in the tracking room. This is possible by making use of the routing matrix and the sources and destinations. So you got the headphone outs going to output 3 and 4, and your musicians want the kick, snare, and claps. You just tick those over here. Now when you play it back, you'll hear everything coming out your mix, but they'll only hear the drums coming through their headphone outs. So you can see it's quite a nice way of routing audio through your studio setup. So you can have different headphone setups. You can also create bus channels in the routing matrix if you want to bus items for mixing and processing purposes. This is a great alternative to grouping tracks. Plus you can process the items as a whole, which you wouldn't be able to do with the track grouping. So these elements I have here, going through to the master parent output, I want them instead to go to track 7, which will be my bus channel. And then 7 will go to the master output. So turn these off over here. You'll see that when you turn off items in the routing matrix, the input-output goes red, showing that there's no output. So on track 7, let's just name this bus. You'll see that it renames accordingly. And let's take the beats and everything else, the kick, snare, clap. These will go to the bus channel. When I play this back, you won't hear anything. But all these tracks are going through to the bus channel. You can see with the signal here. But as soon as I activate the bus going through to the master send, you'll hear the audio again. Now with just one fader, I can raise and drop the volume. And I can also apply some processing effects. Let's add the EQ. And I want this to be a low pass. See how I can add processing to the track as a whole, which really comes in handy in the mixing process. Let's just close that. That gives you a taste of what is possible with the routing matrix. If you have a more complex studio setup, you can really take advantage of this routing matrix with your outboard gear, or if you have multiple speaker setups. Check you in the next tutorial, where we'll have a look at the transport bar.